What's up, YouTube, man? It's your boy, Action Jackson, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about two things with Dak Prescott's in full, what he said about not throwing 10 interceptions and what he actually said from his youth camp. And then also, I'm going to be talking about the situation with the running backs, but overall, speaking from a fan perspective about Tony Pollard. So before we hop into the video, I would appreciate if you guys would like the video, subscribe if you're new, comment, and share my video with anyone who you think will enjoy my content. The first thing I'm going to touch about is Dak Prescott and what he actually said from his youth camp, because earlier this morning, I am recording the same day on Monday, July 17th, but earlier this morning, there was discussion about how, with Dak Prescott saying how he wasn't going to throw 10 interceptions, and that's all what people ran away with that quote, and there wasn't any context into what the full quote was. They only took a part of that. He's not going to throw 10 receptions, and everyone made their memes, and everyone was kidding about it, which is fine or whatever. So, shout out to Todd Archer. I'm going to put the quote on the screen, but what he said was they know where, the ball is going to be and when they're going to be getting looked at, why they're going to be in that situation, and why they're running that route. And he said that's going to be a big jump. I think we won't have those tipped interceptions this year. And I think Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott already have that full trust in each other, and to where that Dak Prescott is going to be calling the majority of, he's going to have full demand on the offense, and he's going to be able to control the offense when he's on the field, which I think that's what most quarterbacks should be doing anyway. And Dak Prescott has earned his stripes in this league by, having it to where he can call his own plays. If you guys check out the documentary on Netflix called The Quarterback, they go over 3 different quarterbacks like Marcus Mariota, Kirk Cousins, and Patrick Mahomes. I'm pretty sure some of you guys have watched it, but if you haven't yet, I would watch it. You see 3 different perspectives. You see one perspective of the best quarterback in the league, another quarterback who used to be on the pinnacle of football, then quickly diminished down, and then you also look at with Kirk Cousins, him middle of the pack quarterback. Some games where he has highs, he has lows, but for the most part he's in the middle. But in all that documentary teaches you how the quarterback preparation is, and you see Mahomes able to call the game. So is Mariota to an extent, and also Kirk Cousins as well. But most importantly, looking at it with Mahomes able to demand that offense, and him and Andy Reid, they both have that mutual respect to where they both see something. Mahomes can say, no, we're not running that. Yeah, we can run this. Great thinking, things of that nature. And I think Mike McCarthy has already touched on it in saying that he wants his quarterbacks to have full demand of the offense, which I already think that should happen, because when you're Dak Prescott, you're on the field, you're getting feedback from multiple of players, your receivers, your offensive linemen, your running backs, you all getting opinions from everybody. And, everyone views the game differently. I think Dak might have a different eye than Mike McCarthy, because Mike McCarthy's on the sideline. He's seeing it from a side view. Dak Prescott, he's seeing it face forward. And some of the offensive coordinators, if Brian Schottenheimer wants to either be on the field or be on top, where Dan Quinn is, which I think Brian Schottenheimer should be on top, and be where Dan Quinn is, so he can have a bird's eye view. And then you have Mike McCarthy on the sideline, and then you have Dak Prescott, and then they all have the same headset anyway, so they're all going to be constantly communicating before the play started. So I think that's also crucial as well. But I think that's very important that these players are going to know where they're going to be and why they're going to be there. And so that's when they're not, no second guessing. If you can go out there in the NFL and just play free ball, free reign, and less thinking in the game, that's when you get all pros, and that's when you get Pro Bowlers. That's when you get Super Bowl champions, because the less you're thinking and the more you're just doing and having fun and utilizing your athleticism and your and then again your mental capacity. You go out there and went and play the games. Look at the Chiefs, for example, like I said on that documentary with the quarterback. The Chiefs were just having fun. Yeah, they did go through some ups and downs. Mostly they were having fun because they already knew what they were doing. They knew the offense like the back of their hand. And I feel like with the Cowboys, they know offense like that is going to be a lot easier. And if we can just lessen the mistakes, especially from an offensive standpoint, that will take us to another level, because that's another thing that propels you into a Super Bowl contending team, is if you make less mistakes and you're forcing that team to make mistakes more times than not, especially with the defense that we do have, we can capitalize on those mistakes and win football games. So that's my perspective with Dak Prescott and what he said from his quote and things of that nature. Now, really for me, now the next topic that we're going to be going over with is Tony Pollard and I. And I think from the perspective of, just for me as a fan and, a lot of the, everyone that plays this game and just people in general, they're human beings that have feelings as well. So I understand that from a running back perspective, some of the top running backs in the league, I didn't hear from Christian McCaffrey or Alvin Kamara per se, but Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, pretty sure I'm missing some other running backs, but whoever the top running backs were in the league in today's game, Najee Harris, a lot of the top backs we're speaking about today, because 3 running backs did not get paid today. Our very own Tony Pollard, he didn't get a contract extension. He's playing on a franchise tag. Same thing with Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley. I'll talk about the other 2 in a minute, but I can only speak for me as a Dallas Cowboy fan and what I think about the whole situation. I think running backs should get paid their money and get paid their value. And I think that it's really messed up in the league to where, it sucks that they can't get paid what they're actually worth. But, just really, they deserve their money. But also seeing it from an ownership standpoint, and a lot of people are learning from what we did at Dallas Cowboys and are making our own mistake by signing Ezekiel Elliott to that massive contract, to which we did was a 5-year, $90 million contract with $50 million in guaranteed money. I think a lot of teams look at that and they see that, when we paid him 2019, Zeke Elliott again had great numbers in 2019. 2020 was a down year because Dak Prescott, that offensive line wasn't great. Defense was the worst in NFL history. 2021, even on a bum knee after he tore in his PCL against the Carolina Panthers week 3, he still was able to put up over 1,100 yards within scrimmage yards. And then you also got to think about it from a perspective in 2022, again, having his knee go backwards week 7 against the Detroit Lions. So he has, up until 2019, he was a very healthy back, very explosive back. And then after, when he got paid, it seemed like he is, he was, eventually that running back beatings took up on him. And he started slowing, and he wasn't as explosive as he was. He was still great on goal-to-go situations. 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 1st and goal. You're at the foot-yard line, anything of that nature. Zeke Elliott was great at that. But like I said, I think Zeke was the standard of, okay, we can't pay running backs this amount of money we can't pay him this amount of money for this amount of years, because once you give him that 5-year contract, 2 years into it, he's no longer the same. And like I said, there's a lot of context into it from Zeke Elliott not being the same anymore. But really, I just don't think organizations are willing to pay running back top of the line market money, especially when they can utilize that money into other positions like offensive line that are going to be able to play for 10, 20 plus years at a high level. Quarterback, you're able to do the same thing. Receiver, that really depends on what type of receiver you have. If you have a physical 50-50 guy who just uses athleticism, he won't last long neither. But most of your route technicians, they stay in the league for a very long time. Corners, they do really great at corner and covering, and if they lose any sort of speed, you put them at safety. Defensive ends, if you're able to get to the quarterback at a consistent rate, and like Nick Bosa, Michael Parsons, TJ Watt, those are guys who are going to be around in the league for a very long time, and they're going to get paid a lot of money. Running backs, they really get the NFL term dedicated towards them in that position of not for long. So, a running back only lasts in the league for about at least 2.5, 3 years in the league, maybe 4 years. And if you last anything longer than that, you're generational, like Derrick Henry, Adrian Peterson, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Eric Dickerson, you name it, any of those great running backs, Marshall Faulk, they played 10 plus years because I really don't know how they even did, like I said, because that's generational type of talent. But if you're an average to just a slightly above average back, you're not going to be in the league for 10 plus 15 years. So why, as a commitment from the organization standpoint, why am I paying you 5-6 years, close to, $100 million guaranteed, not even close to, $500,000 guaranteed if you look at it from Zeke's standpoint. But if you look at other contracts, Alvin Kamara, CMC, and Derrick Henry, they get anywhere from at least $20 million plus guaranteed. So, which is on the lower end. But, I can see it from both spectrums. Again, if you're a running back, you want to get your money, and I think that you deserve to get your money. I was a big advocate for when Zeke Elliott was time for him to get paid. I wanted him to get paid. But then, you look at it, you look back on that contract, it wasn't a great contract because you just think about it from our perspective. You would wish you would have wanted to have Amari Cooper on your team for the 2022 season instead of Zeke Elliott, especially when Tony Pollard was having the season that he had. Now with Tony Pollard, I think that, again, the Cowboys, you learn from their mistake with Ezekiel Elliott, so they're not going to pay him all that money. They're probably just going to let him play out his contract year, and then they're just probably just going to let him test the market. And if he doesn't get signed an immense amount of money, I think he might come back to the Dallas Cowboys, but I highly doubt it. Now with the Giants, speaking on from the Giants' perspective, you're in a rock and a hard place because you know that the running back position can be replaced, but you also know that Saquon Barkley was the reason anytime you guys ever made the playoffs or have any sort of regular season success was because of Saquon. So, last year was your first year that you ever had made the playoffs ever with Saquon Barkley underneath the helm as running back one. And he was the Giants offensively. He was their production points, mainly from a receiving standpoint, a rushing standpoint. They leaned heavily on Saquon Barkley. But the reason Saquon Barkley isn't going to get a big contract, and the reason why he doesn't have a contract right now, is because he's been injured a lot. If he didn't sustain the amount of injuries as he did in his young career, I think that he definitely would have gotten paid. But would he have gotten paid to an extent that he would have liked? Probably not. But I think for sure he probably would have had his money by now. But that's just my thinking of it, because logically, I'm not going to pay you if you've been showing me consistently that, you can't be available in the, in the NFL. And that's the number one rule for you to even get paid or for you to even stay in this league for a long time. And like they say, the best ability is availability. So if you can't stay on the field for a long time, these owners are just going to cut you. That's in every single league, whether that's in the MLS or soccer, MLB, NHL, NBA, whatever. If you're playing for an organization, you can't stay healthy, you're not going to last long. So, and Saquon's, he's different from the other ones because, he's generational, I feel like, and, he's had a lot of injuries and just, couldn't stay healthy. So now with Josh Jacobs, I just think the same thing, the same part with Saquon, just Josh Jacobs has been healthy. That's his only, that's the only thing that he has right now over Saquon, is that Josh Jacobs has plenty of games when he's taken over and he was that guy. You just look at last year with that Seattle game in overtime. Any of their major wins, whether they made the playoffs in 2021, they leaned on a guy like Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs was the Saquon Barkley for the Raiders before Darren Waller and all those other guys had stepped up. But Josh Jacobs was really him, and that was one of their best draft picks from the offensive standpoint, other than Colton Miller. But from like a playmaking standpoint, that was one of their best draft picks, and it was a no-brainer to select him out of Alabama, doing the things he did for Nick Saban and everything like that. But Josh Jacobs is one of the top backs in the league, and he should get paid like one as well. But same thing, I just think that, again, it's really hard to pay these running backs a lot of money knowing that they can't play for 10 plus years. If Derrick Henry shows that he can play for 10 years at a high level, I think that's going to change. Kamara, if he's able to do the same thing, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb, there has to be consecutive years of seeing running backs play for a decade plus at a high level to where franchises are willing to pay that money for a running back. So that's about it for the video. Again, we just talked about the running back situation and my thoughts on it. I think they should get paid. but I see both sides. But I'm more on the player side than I am the ownership side. And then I feel like there's plenty of billionaires they can figure out the cap space to where they can probably have a rule. There might be a rule coming soon to where running back salary cap will be it will differentiate from the actual salary cap, because I feel like running back should get paid, but the team shouldn't get penalized because the player is no longer the same after. So I feel like the NFL, they can figure out a way. They have plenty of money and resources to figure that out. The accounting system for the for those organizations, they can figure it out. And then for the Dallas Cowboys, mainly with Dak Prescott, he's going to take full command on the offense. These players have been working out with each other in the offseason, so they already know mostly what they're doing. And Dak Prescott's going to take full command. This is what I'm going to love. I love a coach that's going to have my quarterback take reins of the offense. And I just think for Dak Prescott, really, he just needs to, be a quarterback, be a leader, even more of a leader than he already is, but take command of his job. His job is on the line. He needs to take command of it. And that's about it for the video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.